Again, with a big shift in the way people you rely on to keep utility companies in check do their jobs. The Arizona Corporation Commission held what may be its biggest vote in years, passing by a 3-2 majority a new plan for how it regulates utilities, including the big ones, APS and Southwest Gas. But critics are asking, why was such an important decision rushed?
Give us feedback.
Commission Chair Jim O'Connor acknowledged there were questions about whether a new model of overseeing utilities, known as formula rates, was the right path for the commission to pursue. In October, O'Connor asked his staff for a legal opinion and invited community leaders to continue collaborating with them.
And I eagerly look forward to that kind of input in our next workshop.
But there was no workshop and no publicized legal opinion. Instead,
Move the item for a vote.
O'Connor and Commissioner Nick Myers released a new plan that led to Tuesday's vote. The 3-2 yes vote puts the commission on course for an entirely new way of regulating utilities. Described as a tectonic shift, the formula rates approach requires intense scrutiny every 5 years and informal reviews of rates every year. Right now, utilities go to the commission every 2 to 3 years to make their case about why they deserve higher rates in lengthy hearings before a judge. Supporters say the new plan will prevent sticker shock of drastic rate hikes.
It's always easier for especially our small business members to plan for small incremental increases as opposed to being hit with a very large one.
Opponents warn it will mean less transparency and higher customer rates.
The policy statement does not establish meaningful guardrails.
It's ambiguous, and it lacks sufficient detail to understand all of the legal consequences.
It's not changing any of our existing ACC rules. It's simply giving the option to the utilities to reduce the number and frequency of the rate cases, which is ultimately a good thing for customers.
Whether this is actually a good thing for consumers is a point of contention. Joining me are Paul Walker, an energy markets consultant who represents utility investors, and Caryn Potter of SWEEP, an energy efficiency advocate. All right, you represent both sides of the rate formula debate. Paul, let me start with you. The Arizona Free Enterprise Club just weighed in on this, saying the commission rushed through approving new rules, masquerading as what they call a policy statement that could insulate utilities and the commission from having to face ratepayers in future years. What's your response to this conservative group's anger over this vote?
Well, I'm glad you said conservative. That's putting it mildly. The Arizona Free Enterprise Club is one of the farthest right organizations that we have. Okay, so their perspective is very much against anything that would help with climate issues, energy issues.
But a lot of people share their opinion that this will lead to baked-in higher rates and less transparency.
I'm not saying some people don't share their opinion. Okay. That's true.
So what's your response to that idea that this will lead to less transparency for us consumers?
Okay, that's a great question. What this does is it requires every year the utility company, if they decide to go forward with formula rates, they have to provide to all of the interveners, the commission, the consumer advocates, every other group, all of their financial information, all of their construction, all of their receipts for that year.
In informal meetings,
informal is exactly the key.
That's what people worry about.
Lawyers worry about that because what the informal meeting is there's a 90-day period where everybody can just call the utility, email the utility, have meetings with the utility. In a litigated process, which we use now, those are all done through discovery requests, which go through lawyers. So lawyers will make dramatically less money. And the whole process won't take the 6 months that it takes now, where you file a discovery request, the other party has 20 days to respond, they do it through a lawyer. Now, you send an email over or you have a meeting and you get the information that you want right then.
It is an arduous process. Caryn, regulatory lag is a problem. And when the government can't keep up with the actions of utilities in a timely way, people complain about this. Why not let the commission take this bold step to reduce bureaucracy, reduce all of this paperwork and costs like Paul mentioned?
Well, Joe, I think really it comes down to due process. The commission completely fast-tracked this decision, and it's really being framed as something to reduce regulatory delays, but it raises serious questions about accountability and the impact to consumers if we're rushing a policy statement like this. It's too quick.
I'm thinking of what Ruco's representative said. He said trying to implement formula rates rather than through like the rules, it's inappropriate, illegal, and in this case, denies due process. Isn't the reason you have the attorneys involved to keep the utilities honest?
I think it's going to be fun to see the Arizona Attorney General take a look at this, because when Chris Mays, was the chairman of the Corporation Commission on December 29th of 2010, 2 days before the end of the year, 1 week before Republicans were going to take over the commission, passed an entire policy statement directing all the electric utilities and all the gas utilities, directing them with 4 different mandates to start using decoupling and changing rates every single year.
So yeah, you're saying that a lawsuit could be difficult here. We'll see if someone files a lawsuit. Bottom line, should consumers be worried? These 3 Republicans, Jim O'Connor, Kevin Thompson, and Nick Myers, are more concerned about profits of utilities than about protecting consumers.
I would say so, because formula rates, if you do not set up appropriate metrics and guardrails to protect consumers, it's going to act like a blank check that encourages the utilities to invest in much more capital intensive resources and investments, rather than focusing on cost effective options that are actually created to ease the burden of customers. That's the problem here, the incentive and the alignment of what's encouraging the utilities to invest in.
Final statement on that?
Yeah, that's a great concern. I share that concern. What formula rates do, though, is they let all of the stakeholders see every year exactly what the utilities are building, how they're building it, and how they're paying for it. The current process, utilities build it all, then come in every 4 years and say, here's what we did in the last 4 years, what do you think? I think it's much better for the customers and for people like me that are worried about the incredible temperatures and drought we're facing, to be able to go in every year and take a look at what APS and what Tucson Electric are doing, or what they're not doing.
One sentence.
I'll say, Paul, the problem with that, though, is we might be looking at these on an annual basis, but there's not going to be a real opportunity to change things. If we see that there's a problem with the formula rates in between, there's not going to be an opportunity to make significant changes, because the policy statement does not allow for, or does not require, an updated cost or customer cost allocation study.
The commission staff's own expert, worth saying, said that in states where this has been tried, consumers do not benefit. It generally helps the utilities. Why are we doing this if the evidence shows contrary?
So if you look at the states that are doing this effectively, right, they're the Gulf states. They're doing it because we've seen a dramatic increase in hurricanes. Look, in the 2010s, the United States had $132 billion weather disasters. In the last 5 years, we've had 126.
Sure.
So what's happening is there's a dramatic increase in negative weather events, extreme weather events. Formula rates allow utilities, like across the South where they're dealing with these hurricanes, to implement infrastructure fixes to get themselves ready for it.
Well,
I look at Arizona and the amount of air conditioning we're using and the amount of AI data centers that are coming here. From a Wall Street perspective, I see the same problem.
Okay.
You dramatically need to invest.
Paul, that's what we call a good tease, because we're going to talk about AI data centers in just a moment. So we're not finished with our experts, as this was a very busy week in the world of energy and our utility bills. We'll be talking about that coming up. Also, another utility, this one not regulated by the commission, announced they will ask for a 2.5% rate hike later next year. Yes, demand is growing in our state, as Paul mentioned, but are homeowners going to unfairly pay the price for the global AI boom? We'll be back with our experts. And the cost of choices when it comes to our kids' education. Another school district votes to shut down schools. The impact Arizona's private school vouchers are having on the education landscape. You can also see all of our Sunday Score-Off coverage on 12news.com or on our YouTube channel. Go to 12news.com/YouTube.